Hi, welcome to Loft 801. My name is Diego, and today I'm going to be reviewing Pearl. It is a horror slasher and is a prequel to 2022's X, which is also linked right up above. Pearl was directed by Ty West and was released in the USA on September 16th, 2022. Pearl is an isolated girl living on a farm with dreams of grandeur. Unfortunately, tensions rise as she's stuck on the farm with an uncompromising mother and disabled father. Before I continue and hop into my review, if you want to support the channel, please take a second to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell. I will love you forever and ever. Keep in mind, this review will contain spoilers, so continue at your own risk. Lastly, if there's something that you want to see reviewed, don't forget to let me know by leaving a comment and I'll get to it. Thank you. We're hopping in 3, 2, 1. Pearl is the daughter of two German immigrant parents. Her husband Howard is serving in World War I, so she is living with her family on their farm. Unfortunately, Pearl's father is sick and paralyzed, and she's forced to care for him. Making things worse, her mother Ruth is insanely strict and constantly berates her. Moreover, growing up alone on the farm, Pearl hasn't had the social interactions that normal people have. She's a bit screwed up in the head and kills farm animals in her free time. Her story is a recipe for disaster. Pearl dreams of becoming a celebrity and leaving the farm. She gets her ideas and dreams from the local cinema, where she meets a young projectionist who encourages her to pursue her dreams. When Pearl's wealthy sister-in-law Mitzi tells her of a dance audition she plans on attending. Unfortunately, Ruth and Pearl get into a huge argument about pursuing her dreams. It culminates with Ruth on fire and Pearl running away to sleep with the projectionist. I'm sorry, Howard, another soldier down. The projectionist takes Pearl home, but her erratic behavior and inconsistent stories make him uneasy. As he tries to leave, she stabs him to death for abandoning her. She has some serious abandonment issues, which she discloses later. Pearl continues her psychotic actions and murders her father before going to the audition. By the way, if it wasn't clear, her mother is also dead. At the audition, she gives the performance of a lifetime, but it doesn't matter. The casters want a young, blonde, all-American girl. I wonder who fits that description. Mitzi walks home with Pearl and does her best to console her, which results in a lengthy confession from Pearl. She hates that Howard chose to live on the farm instead of using his wealth to take her away. She also hates that he left to go to war. She had a miscarriage and was happy about it. She takes joy in harming others and admits to her murders. Mitzi is stunned and tries to leave, but things don't go too well for Miss All-American. The ending of the film is incredible, as Pearl accepts that she will never be a star and Howard returns home. To be honest, I enjoyed the plot of this movie way more than I did for the plot of X. Like X, the plot is very predictable, but it's told in a nice manner. It doesn't feel cliche and cheesy, and the direction and pace of the film help things move along quickly while still fleshing out Pearl as a character. Tone-wise, this film felt more like a thriller and social commentary than a horror or slasher flick. Personally, I like that. Whenever a movie gives backstory on a character, it makes them much easier to sympathize with. In this film, I felt sympathy for Pearl because her dreams were constantly crushed by her mother and she was all alone. It heavily reminded me of the backstories of serial killers like John Wayne Gacy, Ed Gein, and Gary Ridgway. Also, there's a reason loneliness can lead to a cognitive breakdown, and I think this film does a very good job of portraying that. I slightly mentioned this in my review of X, but overtly pushing someone to one belief can lead to the opposite belief. In this case, overtly strict parents can lead to overtly rebellious or sneaky children. Moderation is key, parents. When it comes to the acting, I wasn't very impressed with Mia Goth and her performance in X, but she killed it in this movie. Her mannerisms, facial expressions, and erratic behavior are outstanding. Also, you've got to be down bad to have sex with a scarecrow. In all seriousness, there are moments where I felt immense sympathy for her, and there are moments where I wish she'd get her comeuppance. Tandy Wright also does a fantastic job as her mother Ruth. She feels cold, resentful, and abusive. The way she spewed her hatred and disappointment for Pearl enraged me. Tandy, if I see you in person, it's on sight. Just kidding, great job. David Cornsweet, Matthew Sunderland, and Emma Jenkins Perot do good jobs as the projectionist, Pearl's father, and Mitzi. Moving on, I thought the score and soundtrack were good in this film. When mixed with the ambience, they created intense moments. They did a great job of conveying the emotions Pearl was feeling and the emotions I was feeling. I also enjoyed the tune that played during Pearl's audition. Her dancing to the tune almost convinces you that she'll get the part. But alas, unfortunately not. The dialogue in this this film was great. Pearl has an insane monologue at the end of the film while Mitzi consoles her. Seeing Pearl voice her insecurities and worries about not being a normal person made me sad. It may have been Mia Goth's quivering voice, but those words hit and helped me sympathize with her. I also liked some of the lines the projectionist had about pursuing his dream and his encouragement for Pearl to pursue her dreams. I'm very much a believer in pursuing what you want and chasing your dreams. Like X, the cinematography and production design were a bit lackluster. I think they were an improvement, but there still wasn't anything eye-catching outside of the ending scene. I adore the way the film ended, with Pearl painfully smiling for several minutes as credits roll and a vignette closes in. She looks completely tormented, and it was a creative way to end the film. Now, I do have to make one note. While the farm is still the same as in X, I appreciated how it was much cleaner. It's a nice attention to detail because the home hasn't had years of weather to corrode it. Anyways, overall, I thought Pearl was a huge step up compared to X. I enjoyed this film because we got Pearl's backstory and her motivations were clearly shown. Additionally, her motivations were sympathetic and I felt bad for her at times. I was impressed with Mia Goth's performance in this film and I wish she would have had more room to shine in X. I also really enjoyed the themes this movie portrayed. Harsh parenting can lead to crazy children. This is perfectly exemplified by Pearl and her actions and her dialogue at the end of the film. On a slightly more negative note, I do wish this movie would have had a bigger budget because it could have improved upon the score, soundtrack, cinematography, and production design. Things looked good and felt good, but they weren't amazing. By far, the best scene is the ending scene as the credits roll. I wish more movies ended this creatively. Pearl is a movie that I enjoyed watching for several reasons, so I gave it an 8.3 out of 10. If you're interested in seeing a horror film that almost comes off as a social commentary, then I'd recommend watching Pearl. More so if you've already seen X. Thank you for listening to my review of Pearl. If you enjoyed the content and want to support the channel, please leave a like and hit subscribe. If you didn't enjoy the content, thank you for sticking around. You're a champ. If you agree or disagree with me, please let me know in the comments. I'd love to read what you have to say. And if there's anything you want to see reviewed, don't forget to let me know and I'll get to it. Lastly, if you want to see some more from me, you can check out my vlogs linked up above or my podcast, Friends with Benefits. My name is Diego and I'll see you next time.